Hello everyone. Today we'll go through very less mathematical topic, which is reading how data analytics helped a company like Target, you know, reach from $45 billion revenue to 67 around, in the period of 2017, I guess. Yeah. So this is will not have any kind of mathematical or coding command. It's basically how that company started, how it shaped, basically from just an offline retail store to a completely data analytics company now, and with online stores and offline, both online offline model, right? So before we start that discussion on Target Corporation, which is one of the largest retail companies in the US, right? We will just go through some very basic definitions, or some factors to consider before we use data analytics in any retail, or in fact in any sector of the business, right? So formal definition of business analytics is like whatever techniques, technologies, systems, practices, or applications that analyze the business data to help the enterprises make better decisions. Now, if you see, I have bolded two things here. One is this analyzing the data and making timely decisions. So this two things which I felt was major things. Like timely decisions is important because if your algorithms or analytics takes a lot of time, and by that time you have already lost on competitive edge, then it's not useful, right? And what it does, business analytics, is basically analyzes your business data to help your company or decision makers. So, and as you can see in this definition, I just made it like what is it exactly done and how is it done, and breaking down this definition into like what, how, why part, right? Very standard definition. I mean, we all are familiar with it, but what I wanted to make highlight was timely decisions. Business analysis or analytics is useful only if you are able to make timely decisions from the data analysis, right? Now there was one I was going through two case studies, and I was just deciding which one to take. So came through two, finally, out of scrolling to 10 uh, case studies. There were two which I came finally. One was like a pure research case study where they were studying retailers in the UK to basically make some theories around business analytics, right? So, but that was not giving much of practical intuition how business analytics can really change the business. So that's why I took Target Corporation as an example, because it's one example. Otherwise, this study which I'm talking about right now, I mean that paper is a long research paper. So I took some very minimal things from that, which can prove for a learning for us. So, for example, that paper, you know, actually tells us that why they focused on retail sector in the UK, because it's one of the eighth biggest sector, in fact, eighth biggest sector of the world economy, right? With respect to the total market value, and that accounts for 7% of the total value added, right? And because of this whole these two major points, it BA business analytics is essential to understand the retail customer behavior, right? Because of, like, in UK itself, it's like eighth biggest sector, and it's I think 5% contribution to the UK's GDP. So that's why it is essential to keep on innovating in that sector, and apply business analytics to improve the customer experience, right? So what that paper claimed was, there is not much theory available on how business analytics should be applied in retail, and there is a gap between practical and theory. So basically, though we can argue that when it's working in practical, why do we need theory? But if we have theories, then we may not waste time in experimenting, right? Some people would have experimented, taking some decisions or putting some strategies in place. Some worked out and some did not. So when you finally take multiple case studies and make some you know theory around it, it makes make it easy for new people who are using business analytics. So just to I have put the references, and this is one paper which is there in the references, which has mostly about this UK retail study, right? And this the purpose of this study was to fill this gap between practical and theory, right? And why did they select UK was because 10% of the UK's working population is in the retail sector, right? Just, I mean, this is huge. Like 10% of the entire population is working in retail. And then if you see the sales, right, they had 303 billion pound sales in 2011, which is around 8 years back. So, and that is itself is huge. It's 300 billion pounds, right? So, and in the same year, internet sale was around 9% of this 303 billion, which is around 27 billion pounds, right? And as I said in the previous slide, that UK, retail sector of UK account for almost 5% of the UK's GDP. So these are some facts, which are saying why, how is the retail sector so impactful? Like, and that's why you would see this Amazon company gradually becoming so big in over the last 5 years, right? These are some facts which are corroborating that this journey of a company like Amazon, right? So it's the sixth largest retail market in the world by sales, the UK retail market. So hence, due to these all big factors, the paper was claiming that that's why they can study various retailers in UK and develop theories for that. Basically, what factors lead to successful adoption of business analytics, right? So what they were able to answer was issues faced by the businesses when they invest in business analytics, right? And how do they affect the firm performance? We'll, after the end of the slide, we'll try to answer this when we go through target case study, right? So what we are setting up here is, can we answer these two questions when we look at the target journey from offline only model to e-commerce platform, and then to using data analysis on those e-commerce platforms, right? So, and this is very generic or theoretical, that business analytics helps in integrating demand, supply, improve customer knowledge, and increase processing power. See, if you have offline retail stores, right, when you go there, there is a lot of data which is with every sales transaction, there is a data row entered in some of the tables, but it will be difficult for humans to obviously process that. And that's why this processing power is mentioned, like that business analytics help in increasing that. Like, as humans, it will be difficult to analyze the purchasing behavior of customers, right? So one one important thing in that paper, which I would like to mention, was technology organization environment framework. So basically what it says, there is a framework when you employ technology into the, let's say you are running some enterprise or some retail store, or anything which you are running as an organization. When you try to involve technology into that, like technical innovation into the organization, there are two factors which you need to consider: organizational and environmental factors, right? And also obviously how the technology is itself, the characteristic of the technology itself, right? So the tech context, basically, there are, as I said, there are three things you have to consider: technology, organization, and environment, right? The technology context considers existing and emerging technologies relevant to the firm. So whatever firm or retail store you have, Now, how what is that current existing technology for that which is relevant to your firm, right? Now, then organizational context, it will, you know, let you define whether what is the size of your organization, what is the scope within which you have to apply the technical innovations, and how is the managerial structure in the organization, and what are the internal resources you have, right? So, and then environmental context covers who are the industry competitors, right? And also when I say dealing with government, so just for example, suppose you are a pizza delivery company and you want to deliver your pizzas by drones, autonomous drones, right? So but there are some government policies or which may not be even yet in place, so you cannot use like that high end technological innovation for your use case. So when I say environmental context, it means some outside the organization, what are some other things which affect what kind of technology you can use, right? Organizational context is basically within your organization, how is the culture of the organization, what is the size of the organization, what is the scope of this technical innovation within that organization, and what are the internal resources available. So all those factors basically lead you to adopt technological innovation depending on what is the current situation with respect to each organization and environmental context, right? So just going more broader into the each of them. So complexity of the technology, complete compatibility with practices already existing in the firm, and what are the benefits when you actually adopt these technologies, right? How expensive it can be, right? So, and apart from computing or doing analytics, you also need to make sure that how secure is it. Like if you start putting your data into some uh, technical platforms, and you realize that your security of your customers data is being compromised, that may not be a good factor to consider that technological uh, you know product. So some these several things basically lead you to decide, there are some factors which should be kept in mind before you adopt any technological innovation into your existing firm or organization or store, right? So there are different organizational factors also which lead you to take this decision. One is the firm size. How complex is your managerial structure? Basically, is it hierarchical or is it peer to peer, right? Or even you know whether you can make complementary investments, like later on, let's say you employ the technology but you will need some more investment on some other sides, right? Like for example, when you use machine learning in some organization, you may need some people who label the data, for example. So this is like a complementary investments, right? And what kind of people who are working in your firm, are they technical technically sound to really work on those products which you want to incorporate, right? And then a structure I already almost talked about. Then culture is one important thing which is there, because if the culture is, suddenly you cannot ask your employees to adopt or to use the new technological product you want to incorporate, right? They'll be that abrupt change will lead to a lot of difficulties, right? So like 2 years back in India, basically the prime minister asked for digitalization. They basically scrapped the all the higher currency notes. It was called demonetization. So all the higher currency notes were just in one day they were all scrapped, saying in next 2 months all these notes will be scrapped and you will have to do everything, almost everything digitally, like all transactions should happen digitally. But India has like more than 60 to 70% of the working people are not in that zone where you can take salaries like digitally. Like there are daily wages like vegetable vendors or people who are working in factories or construction sites. So due to this all digitalization, the whole economy was affected, and it's showing now after 2 years of that step, 2 to 3 years of that step, it started showing now. So the step was right, maybe they wanted digitalization, but the culture was not ready. So that's what I'm trying to say, that if you bring sudden change into the organization or the people you are leading, it might it might hit you back in some time. You might think, okay, I'm making my organization or better by this, but if it is not right, if it is not considered with these factors, then it might hit you sometime later back only. So remember, culture is also a very important thing. Like, what is the culture set in your organization? And you would see that how Target Corporation basically changed gradually its culture from non-tech to tech-oriented company. So environmental factors is another thing. Like, apart from within the organization, there are something outside the organization which we should remember, right? For example, these external factors can either portray as constraints, or they can also provide opportunities depending on what kind of factors are outside, right? For example, the same example I gave, that when the prime minister of the country demonetized some higher currency notes, so it provided opportunities for companies like who are in e-wallet, a company like Paytm, and these companies who were just doing focusing on digital transactions, they got benefited. So that's like providing opportunities here. Like, environmental factors can provide opportunities for some, and they can also provide constraints for others. It's like, and then business pressure, meaning from other competitors, or you have to achieve some targets, like there is some deadline, or there is some event happening which is globally. Let's say you want to launch something on Christmas, 25th December, and that date is fixed, so you have to do something within that time, for example, right? Then your competitors and government policies. So these all external factors also should be keep in mind when you apply some technology into your organization or business analytics, right? So some other factors which may or may not be there in previous slides were, does your organization has digitalization in place, right? Because it will allow you to collect data. If you don't have data in digital format, it will take another effort to convert the offline data to some soft hard copies to soft copies of the data. So do you have the experts or expertise to leverage the data? Like, okay, now you want to do this and you have digitalization in place, but you expert yourself, or you need to hire somebody, or you need to outsource it to a new company? Now, many insights possible, but what are useful and actionable is also important, right? Like, meaning, as a data scientist, one can give lot of insights. There will be a lot of insights, but which is useful for the company or the firm? And how long can you allow for experiments? Like, is it going to go for like a year or 6 months? Can it finish early so that they can make early advancements? And also, sometimes it can be overwhelming when you get everything done as a businessman or as an organization. What if you get overwhelmed by the data you are seeing, and you just are not able to act wisely enough? So these are few things which we should always consider in place when you apply some business analytics or technical innovation into your firm. So these are, as I said, these were some theoretical you know which we should remember, and I kept emphasizing on some important thing which we might forget. Just remember all this when you employ some technology or data analytics into your existing product or services, right? Like, so here we start about, like, how Target Corporation basically moved from something which started like a dry goods store in 1902, and there were several milestones they achieved. They will go through them roughly. So it's one of the second largest discount retailer in US. I hope everybody would have heard about Target Corporation. I mean, it's now so big. Maybe 10 years back, maybe 20 years back it was not so much known because there was only prevalent in US as offline stores. But gradually they opened e-commerce platform and then started employing people for their platform. So when sometimes, even if the company is in some other country but their employees may be in other countries, so that way we know about that company. Like, as I mean, I personally didn't know maybe Target Corporation like 5 to 10 years back. So but now, when they are employing or investing in companies or employing data scientists, it's very much known, at least in the part city where I'm staying, right? So they started as a dry goods store in Minnesota in 1902, and by 2017, it's almost more than 100 years, like their annual sales were around $72 billion, right? And 50 million online shoppers per week in 2017 itself. And there is an increase of 30 million people visiting 1800 offline stores, right? So this is just a very broad stats which shows how big is the company or how it became big in, over the period of this 100 years. So how this whole data analytics started in 2013, basically there was a team set up which is called Enterprise Data Analytics Business Intelligence, EDAB. We'll call it EDAB, right? So the vision of this group was to drive decision making on what products to sell, basically like recommendations, and how to optimize supply chains, right? In a any retail company, whether it's offline or online, you have to have deal with this supply chain optimization. You cannot just keep on fulfilling filling your uh, warehouses and you're not able to cater to, like, say you're not selling it much. So that supply chain optimization has to be there in any retail store, right? And how to better position products. So because this Target was also offline and then later on became online, way to place the products is also an important point in retail stores, right? Like for example, you might have noticed when you come to the transaction point where you're paying your finally you bought everything and you're paying at the counter, cash counter or credit card counter, you would see small items kept near the uh, cash counter. That is one strategy to to sell, like those push those products, like lighters maybe, or maybe small chocolates, right? So these products basically, like, you might not be coming to buy those products. You might buy when you want to have an, it's like a, it's not like something which you go for buying, like chocolates for example. You rarely go to buy a chocolate, but when you go to buy something else, you might associate, or you might just buy it because you are buying so many stuff. So it's not a primary product which you buy. So that's why this is like a positioning strategy, right? Then combine online and offline activities. That this is the vision of
It's
this
16 hours.
this is the vision of this group which was set up called ADABI, right? And also one more thing was to see, and it was in 2010 or 5 something, right, when Amazon was starting at least in US it was already becoming big, right? I think the stock value was around $80, around that, right, in the 2010. So when you see competitors like Amazon or even Walmart, you will have to change your strategy, otherwise you will be one day just be nothing because of your competitors taking over. So these were few things which for which this group was set up, IDABI group, Enterprise Data Analytics and Business Intelligence, right? So now, initially they just focus on creating data reports and A/B testing on the website. Like, you're launching some new way of selling the product on the website, and you want to see which strategy works best. So this group was just doing A/B testing initially. And by 2018, in next just 5 years, this grew to 900 people organization. Only this group within Target group. So we'll see all of this in next slides. So just to give you an emphasis on the retail industry in US, right, there are, in 2018, retail contributed just on 5.7 trillion dollars in annual sales. It's trillion now, not billion, right? And it's extremely competitive in, and hence there are low margins. So why this is because you can see that uh, tiniest mistake in what when you employ some innovative technological application or something, and you pay a lot of cost to the cloud services where you are hosting or you're running your data algorithms, and if that cost is so much that your already margins were already low and you're also paying so much amount in extra, so you have to keep in mind that the products you are selling or the profit you are making is how much is it which you can invest in the technology. So Target basically served higher income customers, right? Because this whole retail business in US is competitive, right? So almost every company targets some different section of people. For example, Walmart focus on lower income shoppers. So whenever there is some calamity or some flood or anything, so Walmart comes up with lot of offers and during such times, or they come for lower income, they mostly focus on lower income groups. So annual income, for example, for people who are less than 70K dollars, right? This is the target group or target customers for Walmart. And for Target, so okay, I might use Target as a English word, Target, and Target as a Target Corporation. So I'll use Target Corporation whenever I mean Target Corporation. So Target Corporation, they served higher income customers with average annual income of over 80K dollars, right? So they, as we say, that they're serving quality products at competitive prices, and they opened stores in wealthier suburbs, right, and mostly urban areas. And if Walmart, if you see, they recorded annual sale of $480 billion in just in 2018, right? And now another competitor for Target Corporation was Amazon. It recorded global annual sale of $178 billion, and with just online stores, right? Amazon didn't have much offline in 2017, so and over $120 billion in the United States itself. So this whole thing, what we are trying to show you, that how competitive this retail market is and how big it is. Like $5.7 trillion, it happened. It's not the market size; it's just the sales which happened, right? So you can see with this slide, like basically how slowly and slowly was Amazon was becoming huge with because of its online only model and using recommendations and machine learning algorithms on their websites, right? So this is just to prove you that slowly it was becoming this. So as an as a CEO of Target Corporation or as a business leader in Target Corporation, it becomes mandatory to match your competitors with some whatever works best for you. But you need to really match, otherwise they will slowly and slowly take the entire market, right? And it's not only companies thing, the company also changed the behavior of the customer, right? Amazon shaped the customer behavior by, so because people started buying shopping, doing shopping online, and Target was mostly offline, or even Walmart, right? So that's why they needed to do something online, basically because the customer behavior was changing, right? So Target, as we said, it was headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota, like, and it was originally known as Dayton Dry Goods Company. It was that's just a very small dry goods company. Then this Target brand, right, was launched in 1962, and they expanded aggressively during 1990s. Many stores were opened basically. Now it has around more than 1800 stores, right? And then officially they named it Target Corporation in 2000. So by 2017, 300 3 lakh 50,000 employees were working, in Target Corporation, and this is huge. So let me just yeah. So let me just I'm just on this slide only. I'm just so they became, they almost became a retail juggernaut. Each week, the company served more than 50 million shoppers online, as well as upward of 30 million people who visited its more than 1800 stores, right? And by in May 2017, right? By the end of 2017, they were into few years into the journey of better leveraging data. Basically, that by 2017 they had done a lot of data analytics. We'll see that journey basically, right? So yeah, just hold on. Now, as a first step for any organization, right? When you are going offline initially, right? You have retail stores. If you want to apply any kind of data analytics or business analytics, you need to have data, and the data better be in obviously online mode or digital mode. So for it becomes essential that you make everything digitalized in your organization, whatever you can, right? So Target launched its first e-commerce web platform in 1999, and in 2011 they launched updated website. Basically, after assuming that okay, they have now full control of its online operations. With this update, basically they incorporated several features, like for example, personalized shopping. Their company's website offered customers product recommendations, enhanced gift, wedding registries, and social networking integration. Then advanced design on the website. We'll see the website design next. Basically, the site contained bold graphics and playful photos, right? And extensive buying guides and experts advice on products. So this is kind of the changes they had in the second version of the website in 2011. And easy navigation, basically the website included advanced search and navigation and consistent product information, online customer surveys, and a streamlined shopping cart and checkout process. One thing we should notice here that if you remember, there was this .com bubble in around 2000, right? So it was that time when companies were opening many websites and all, and then Target also had to come up to online platforms. So that's why you see they launched this e-commerce platform in 99. And then after 2000 or around 2010, when this AI and machine learning was becoming boom, because of the companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, Apple also, right? And the smartphone, when Apple launched it, iPhone in around 2005 7, right? Then this concept of apps becoming very prevalent in mobile apps, and Android also becoming freely as a free soft OS to develop mobile to manufacture mobile phones. So these all these advancements were basically causing that okay, now we need to also have some AI or data analytics in place. That's why you see this 2010 or 11 was the period when they had to come up with these features which are based on some kind of machine learning, right? Now the platform they had built was with the support of third parties like IBM, Infosys. And as online shopping became prevalent, right, Target decided that the company needed to become a digital expert and develop more of its own technology to support its e-commerce efforts, right? They undertook the goal to build strong internal data management or so So yeah, the point here, we need to understand that with the changes in the economy or what is happening around the world, the company changed itself. In 2000 it was dot com bubble, and hence they had to open their dot com site. In around after 2010, basically people were already using machine learning and AI. Like Netflix is another example. Maybe they were, yeah, so they also started using around that time. Hence, if you are not using it and you're waiting for your competitors and then you follow them, you will be late. So it was the right time to basically invest in that technology. And thankfully I did my masters around that time only. So it's that's why it's paying off. So that's what we should learn from this particular slide, right? Digitalization, like you make sure that your data, what you're getting from your customers, is in digital forms, right? So you can see this was the 2011 format, and this was the kind of platform they had, right? And they explicitly said it that we have changed the website and easier to use. And this is the logo of Target Corporation with two concentric circles, right? So after digitalization, the first step was digitalization. Then next goals is you have to build some team or expertise, right, around that uh, thing. So basically, they started building strong internal data management, product management, and e-commerce functions to drive digital platforms. So although most of the firm sales originated from its online, from its in-store activity like physical stores, the digital portion of Target's business grew by over 30% per year over the next 5 years, right? This is like, yeah, from 2013 to 18. So by mid 2018, sales through the company's digital channels were representing more than 5% of overall revenues, right? So what we are saying here is like when you brought digitalization into the organization and how it started impacting that, it's already contributing 5% of overall revenues, right? Let me just open this. Now if you see this is one chart, maybe term sheet, not term sheet, basically is like whatever sales happened in that year, right? By 2018 and all, like this digital channel contribution and stores channel comparable sales change. So and so in the last section you can see here it's quite evident that 5.6% of the sales digital through digital channel was around 4.5.6 in the 3 months ended or quarter ended in August 2018, right? So yeah, basically this is just to show what we said before. So now Adabi, as we are talking about this team Adabi 2000, it was in 2013 when they started this group. By before this, they had no centralized, data governance or internal organizations to drive the overall strategy or to educate the company on the best way to use data, basically. So by 2013, their senior leadership began to see the potential for how data and analytics could drive significant competitive differentiation. And hence they formed a centralized group. Why centralized? If you see, they had around 1800 stores. Now each store cannot use its cannot do data science on their own and improve the sales. Target always control the stores from one centralized location, so maybe that made sense that okay, why not have centralized data group also, right? And that group's responsibility was to define and also realize how what will be the data and analytics strategy, right? And by this time, meaning by 2013, e-commerce was already having an increasing growing impact, right? Remember, e-commerce platform was set up in 1919, 1999, right? So it was almost more than a decade, and it was showing any growing impact on the company. So as the online sales were getting expanded, right? And also, as we said, the consumer behavior was evolving, right? Due to companies like Amazon, right? Customers were buying products mostly online, frequently purchasing, retail products online. The company realized that they needed to employ some data science and analytics to further improve the target's online business, right? Because of two reasons, as I said, you already seeing that there is a growing impact due to the e-commerce platform, and consumers are nowadays buying online. So why not have the strategy so that it's one is more online sales, and also you have some data science on the online platforms. You may or you can have on offline stores also. You If you see the way we place products is inspired by, okay, we know that people buy butter and bread and butter together. So we might place the butter or butter refrigerator around the area where breads are kept. Or you might pick small products like chocolates or products which are not you're not going to buy explicitly, or secondary products you might put it near the counters. Even the offline stores uses some kind of data analytics, but it's like what humans can think of, right? Like, you're buying a mobile phone and hence you recommend a mobile case cover also. But online you can do a lot, like, you can scale it. As I mean, we know all these things, so I'm not going to stress on that. So creating a function that would give the organization a dedicated team to lead these activities with the goal of building an increasingly data rich capability that could shape the firm's e-commerce efforts became their primary objective, right? So yeah, one the major thing to take away from this is that they had a centralized data group to control the entire to have the data and make drive strategies for the company, right? And they started recruiting basically for that team. And the first person, not really the first person, but the senior talent whom they recruited was known as Sharad Desai, and he's an experienced technology company veteran, right? And what he was responsible for leading this group called ADABI, right?
Hello, Pradeep.
Yeah, yeah.
We are not able to actually see the whole PowerPoint of yours.
Oh shit.
We, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm really sorry, but
No, no.
okay.
You can continue.
So yeah, as I was saying, this group was set up as a centralized data group to basically drive all the strategies which the company has to make to improve their online sales and also offline sales, right? They did not stop offline sales. In fact, in retail, online offline model works best. That's why if you see Apple, if you have noticed, Apple offline stores are what makes Apple products push out, because of the experience people get in Apple retail stores. They are, motivated to people are motivated to buy Apple phones. So I'm sure at least 30 to 40, not 30 to 40, maybe 20 to 30% of people who buy Apple phones, if you ask the survey, you would realize they would say that, they went into the store and experienced the product, experienced the service they were getting from the staff. So that's why in retail, offline online model is required, right? It's just not online, because people sometimes would like to see the product, experience it, and then buy, like televisions or maybe sofas, bed, right, furniture for example, or Yeah, and anyway, restaurant is not. I mean, we are not discussing that part of retail, right? So that's why this data group, is they had to drive the strategy for entire company, right, across online, offline, both. So they recruited a person called uh, Sharad Desai. In fact, it's right. So he was an experienced tech company veteran, right, and he was supposed to lead this group. So, and just after 12 months, he joined. This group was formed, ADABI, Enterprise Data Analytics and Business Intelligence Group. And he was put in charge of the new function. And this entire team, if you see, it was distributed across several locations. Now, it is not happened because they wanted it. It's just because the globalization is there, and talent, you would not like to compromise on talent only in your city. But if you are in, let's say, Dubai, and you're opening a tech company, you would not say, I just want people who are in Dubai. That will uh, that may not be so nice, given that today you can talk to them over Skype or video calls, and it's almost feeling like they are working together. So that's why that was not the emphasis here, that we needed these people only in their city or country. So hence, people, the employees for this team, data science team, ended up across different cities, including far away from in US, which is Bangalore, India, right? So this Idabe reported directly into the COO, Chief Operating Officer of the company, right, or Operations Officer, like, so, which highlighted both internally and externally that the team was chartered to impact more than just the firm's e-commerce activities. Meaning, they were the Idabi's team was not just to improve e-commerce sale. They were to basically improve entire company strategy, whether it's offline, online, or both online, offline model, right? Let me just change the slide. So if you see how the way these employees were reporting, this was the structure it looked like. At the down, if you see, all this data related teams are, I mean, this Adobe team is there: data governance, data science, business intelligence engineering, and business intelligence analysis. They were like this, I think this Sharad Desai was like CDAO maybe, and he's reporting directly to COO. So they work in tandem with, in COO or CEO also. Because, see, if you see, data science, it works on two ways. One is it leads you to make decisions, business decisions, and also it works on the product or operations, right? So that's why it's essential to have this integration. Now now if you see, with this people coming in into the company, they had a growing tech culture, right? The They were initially just a retail company, and as this company grew, right, they had recruited many PhDs. In fact, the person who was recruited first, Desai, he was himself a PhD in operations research, right? So
Pradeep,
yeah.
the again screen came half.
Oh, I can see that it's there. I mean, I can see in the case study.
Yeah, now it's full. Seems to be some issue while changing the slide.
Okay, is it fine now?
Yeah, yeah, it is fine now.
So what we are discussing here is how this tech culture inside a retail company is growing. As you see, it was in 1900 when it started, it was just a dry goods company, goods, right? And then in 1999, they started in online platform for e-commerce. In 2011 or something, they changed the platform to have personalization. And then they started slowly to become a more like just like Amazon. For people like who are in data science or engineers, they would know that how Amazon is as a tech company. They recruit highly tech oriented people, and for engineering and data science both. So similarly, this they also had started this growing tech culture inside the retail company, right? And if you see the person whom they recruited for leadership, he was a PhD into operational research. And Tim Sears, he was vice president of data science and engineering. He was a PhD in machine learning. Then Ramasubbu Venkatesh, senior director, he was also a PhD in computational physics. So, in fact, at some point of time, they had more than 50 PhDs in data science, and one of their employees, in fact, director of data sciences, Samir Shah, he said we have more PhDs than many mathematical department at some universities. So it looks very impressive, but having more PhDs or more technical team brings a lot of challenges, right? What is the challenge when you have so many PhDs? How do you sometimes technical people do not know how to communicate to the business teams, right? I think okay. We'll go to that next slide, but before that, yeah. So now because of this, so many PhDs and this high, obviously they will be having high good amount of experience also. So they had a good network of people around them. So they leveraged that network for also hiring new people and also so why does a new person join your company is because you have either very difficult problems to solve which uses their fundamentals and it's exciting problem, right? So when you are able to communicate that to the new people, it makes it easier for others to join, right? When you join a company, obviously one is for the money, but another is like, okay, what kind of problems you have. If you the right talent or the good talented people usually go for the good or good work or good problems. So that's why companies like Google, Amazon, or these companies like Target Corporation also, it becomes essential to attract right kind of talent. So this network of these people of 50 PhDs or maybe more than that help them to get more nice people, right? Then the next thing what they started doing was they started retraining or giving training to their people, basically in data science and analytics, so that almost everyone or who are capable of, they are you know eh, familiar with how to apply data to improve business, for example, right? Let me just yeah. So basically they began retooling its workforce to transform capable employees across the company into data scientists or data engineers, and they sent hundreds of employees to advanced data training so that they could stay on top of latest data science technology, right? And in addition, the EDABI team also stayed current with leading academic research, meaning the team which was working, which who are already PhDs or who knew machine learning, they were also staying with current academic research by having frequent on-site training on ML with machine learning with university faculty members. So you see the amount of money the company is investing in their employees in for the latest technologies, right? That is essential. Like you might think, okay, if we invest in the company's employees, they might leave. That is true. Out of 100 people, yes, 20 to 30 people will leave the company for better jobs, and that is good for your company, right? Because if the person leaves your company and joins a better job, it's kind of leaves good impression on outsiders that when you join this company you will end up becoming more good, right? So hence this training becomes essential because it's like you will invest in 100 people by training them, and yes, 20 to 30 will leave the company, but there will be some who will left and who would like to apply that technology into your company's product, right? And these data scientists and engineers were also encouraged to top attend top conferences in their fields to keep themselves up to date. So in fact, Sharad Desai, who joined as the leader of this group, he was particular that the leadership team not only know the latest developments in the field of machine learning, but also have hands-on experience in advanced topics such as deep learning, right? So in after because of this emphasis, they put in like 40 hours of work a week in addition to their day job, and they got graded on their courses. So that was the kind of level of training they had gone through, right? So many a times when the company trains us, we think, okay, why is it training? And it's we might find it more forceful, but it is also good for the employees. I mean, as individuals, it's good for us also. Now, next step was so let me just go through all the steps before, like, so you can see what happened, so that till now you have built a good summary. First step was digitalization, right? So that you get more data. Next goals were, building strong internal teams, or maybe frameworks where it is proper in place, like data management, product management, e-commerce functions, right, to drive this digital platform. Then this EW team was set up. Basically, center is kind of a centralized data governance or data group, right? And then they made sure that the culture was mostly growing technical, right? So just hold on. Yeah, we didn't go through challenge. I'll go through that now. So there was growing technical culture in the company, right? More than 50 people PhD. So in just like 3 4 5 years, this is happening. In 2011, there was not this scenario. In 2013 or 14 around, then they started recruiting so many technical people that they wanted to grow the technical culture in their team. And they did not fire any offline non-tech people, right? In fact, they started retraining them, people who are capable of going into data scientists or engineers, right? So this was another slide which you missed. There was a challenge, apart from setting up this high tech in team or across the different like sorry. Yeah, if you see here, we are saying that their team was distributed across global locations, right, like such as Bangalore or maybe California. So it is quite challenging as a logistic operation, right? So in fact, vice president of testing and measurement said that she had to travel about 60 to 70% of the time to Minneapolis and she lived in Orange County, California. So what important point she said was, when you start a new group, you have to invest a lot of time with the colleagues all over the business, right? Because obviously you have to know, see, people who had been working, they know, they have the domain expertise, right? But the new group which is setting up, whose responsibility is to drive decisions through data, they cannot just take data and apply machine learning and then tell them to do this. You have to, one is that human interaction is needed so that that chemistry is built up, right? And they start trusting your words. You cannot just come and say, because you are a high tech and people, and you will tell them. They are also expert in some other thing, right? They are expert in their domain, expert in retail, and you are domain expert in data science, right? So you have to work in tandem and respect each other's time and also each other's profession. So that's what one thing is, because you have to interact because for this reason. And another is obviously understanding the domain, basically, right? When you apply any data science or analytics on any domain, you, if you do not have any knowledge about that domain, it will be very hard to apply techniques, right? So this team was involved in two types of interactions, right? They were engaged on strategic issues with the decision makers, right, on right? And then they were also engaging with operational groups of the company, right? Meaning this, supply chain, for example, optimizing supply chain or the daily end-to-end operations at the retail stores. So there were two types of major interactions which are happening, right? And also, in fact, this even people like Sharad Desai, who were at the top, or this vice presidents or any at top level, they were also visiting stores and data centers. So you have to see whatever you are applying or building as a technology, how is it impacting, or is it really worth to put in so much effort. So they were putting in effort to actually go into the offline stores and check basically how is it in place, right? Then another challenge apart from logistic challenge, there is another challenge which, like as I said, that if you are a technical person and other is not, you will have to figure out how to communicate to the business team, right? You cannot just sit idle and just say that if you cannot understand, it's not your thing. Those were PhDs, 50 PhDs in the team, right? And they could just take on their ego and just do not do much, right? But it's the technical person responsibility how to communicate things to the business teams, right? So Idabi analysts, like this team Idabi, the team we are talking about, their analysts often appeared as nerds or geeks, and which is very different than the traditional retailers, right? I don't know about other countries, but yes, in at least in India, the retailers are very, you will never associate them with any kind of technology or data science or business intelligence, right? So now machine learning or deep learning based products were kind of black box for the business teams, right? Basically they were not able to understand why some recommendations were made on the online platform or also offline. When you give discounts on offline retail stores, or when you give some suggestions in offline stores, that is like a recommendation which is coming out of recommendation engine, right? And it's like a black box for the business team. So that is why this tech team needed to kind of decode what they were doing, right? Demystify or decode what they were doing, and hence they should be able to explain how this ML algorithms arrived at particular recommendations. So communication is what is important for data scientists, but that is what we are learning from this, right? Like that we need to, if you are doing applying data science, you need to understand, be able to explain what you are doing. As business people, you need to understand what the data science is doing, right? So we already saw this, that the company basically started investing in the employees by training them and taking courses for data science and engineering because of this growing tech culture. So if you see the culture we were talking about, they had purely retailers in their companies. Now slowly and slowly they started, obviously they hired many tech people, and then they also made sure their people learn the technology rather than they hire new tech people and they just take over, right? So culture, as I said, is important in the company if you're trying to implement something new, right? So this group's responsibilities were multifold responsibilities, right? Let me just so let me, if you have any question, I'll just take in the questions if there are any questions. Yes, so we'll give the PPT when we send the video also. Okay, so there are not many questions, that's fine. And yeah, so if you see the responsibilities of this group, right? What Mr. Sharad Desai said, I'm just reading out his transcript, one of his transcript. He said, Target had been using data for variety of uncoordinated activities, right? They operated in ways that one finds in many organizations. There were different federated groups who were doing analytics, but hardly or almost no data science to analyze the data. Therefore, Sharad Desai decided that part of his strategy was to establish a data science and data engineering function. Over time, they built that out into a large single team. This was accelerated when the senior leadership decided that developing a data and algorithms capability would be a key differentiator for Target. And they wanted to focus across the company, right, on both online and offline sales. At that point, teams across the company quickly came together and became a centralized function in the group. You see that there are two major things here. One is they didn't just focus on online only, they were focusing on both offline and online sales. And also, different teams are coming together and working together and becoming centralized function in the group, right? That's part of this integration, which you're saying, right? Integrating closely with other parts of the company. So Idabi, as I was showing you in one of the slide, that it started with A/B testing, and slowly and slowly, you see in the one of the slide initially when we introduced Idabi group, in its initial focus was on doing A/B testing, right? And then they started moving from A/B testing to proper data science and analytics, right? To business, from A/B testing to business intelligence, and providing data governance. So yeah, so when Idabi group was formed, the organization's responsibilities was has evolved to integrate more closely with other parts of the company. And as the function grew, its responsibility changed from simply performing A/B testing on the company's website to doing business intelligence reporting and providing data governance. So, in addition, the group began to work on Target's most strategic operational challenges, which are supply chain. Right, as I said, in any retail business, right, you have this supply chain optimization problem. So, Idabi began to engage on stock and inventory management solutions based not on statistical forecasting, but instead using a more complex and sophisticated approach using machine learning algorithms to predict supply chain accuracy, right? And then the other challenge they were trying to solve was energy optimization. So as you remember, I was saying they had 1800 stores across the United States, and they're because these stores are almost open open in the nights also, so that the electricity they consume contributed a lot to their expenditure, right? So the data science team realized, okay, maybe we can optimize this energy utilization according to the weather in the country, right? So Idabi group showed that basically its expertise could help retail sales beyond the sales, basically could help beyond the sales and be applied to other domains inside of the company. And they found out that by combining models that accounted for weather across the United States, Idabi could work helping Target save between 3 to 5% in energy cost across multiple stores. So that in fact saved the organization millions of dollars per year, right? So it's not only improving sales, it's not only optimizing the supply chain in the retail store, but also optimizing the energy consumption. The digital ads optimization, right? There, so Target company advertise offers from sellers to customers online when people were looking for specific items on Target's e-commerce platforms. So Idabi developed a system that helped sellers publish ads at relevant times to shoppers, providing a digital advertising engine in the company's online products, right? In any sales oriented business, advertising is very crucial. But now, timing of the advertisement is also crucial because if you have noticed, whenever you are about to buy something, it is that It is that moment, it is that, let's say you're going to buy a shirt on, at offline store. There are some moments when you are very highly motivated to buy that shirt, and in during that time itself only that salesperson has to convince you. After that, that moment of what do you call, excitement for buying something is lost. So the timing of sales or timing of advertisement is very important, even in offline models also. So that's why digital ads optimization, like at what time to show particular ad, is also important. So merchandising. So now at individual offline stores, merchandisers, basically, people who are providing some companies t-shirts or shirts, they displayed and ordered items in a way that they believe that this would entice customers to buy products and thus increase revenues. However, Idabi began using a combination of analytics and machine learning to find optimal displays at target's physical locations. Right, that itself is a huge addition. If they were able to do it right, like where exactly to place the merchandisers ads, or basically the products you are trying to buy, where exactly to put them. That was also coming from machine learning basically. So since it started in 2015, right, Adobe was responsible for activities across both the company's e-commerce and in-store customer experience, right? And their data scientists developed the core algorithms that were used across the various functions of the company, as well as data engineers who enabled these algorithms to work at scale and across the company via the implementation of APIs or application programming interfaces. And they were also offering consulting services that helped the strategic deployment of analytics across the company, right? In addition, a business intelligence or BI engineering group inside of EDABI helped ensure that analytical needs of other functions in the company could be implemented using the data technologies, right? So you see that this company, I mean, I personally liked a few things a lot here, like the way they moved gradually from offline to online to tech culture in the company, and motivating their staff to learn technology. So this was really something, which can be a not a role thing, but it's like if you are running a business or you are part of a business where you see that change is required, you could take that inspiration from this model and maybe, how do you grow from some small offline or just offline business to online offline models, right? Then next was integration with the product management. So they from the beginning, basically Idabi, they were working with more closely with product managers across the company, right? Because they were seeking out the personalize how to seek personalize the e-commerce user experience. So product recommendations online quickly became critical for target e-commerce platform due to their ability to drive increased sales, right? Product managers who resided in the business groups that ran both the physical stores and e-commerce activities, they began to work with the data scientists and engineers in Adobe to drive improvements of online and offline experience, and also drive the revenue, right? So just to give you an example of this collaboration, when a customer bought a product on the target website, Adobe created a personalization engine, right, to allow for enterprise-wide personalization. The personalization engine was first deployed on Target's e-commerce website in 2014 and expanded rapidly to support all of the Target's e-commerce platform like apps and web apps, right? And email marketing also. This personalization engine suggested changes to the recommendation windows that were displayed on a specific product page or at the checkout step based on the algorithms. One example is basically that how the personalization engine could make suggestions for additional items to consider purchasing based on what was in the customer's shopping basket. due to customers' behaviors, demographics, or based on customers' previous orders, by understanding users' current browsing behavior, or by shopping the look. If purchased item was clothing or supplying information on other items that guest also purchased when buying a particular item, right? And in addition, they could also make recommendation based on sales that were popular in a customer's geographic area, right? In that area, what is mostly selling out, they can just recommend that to the customer. So while these product managers were responsible for choosing where and which recommendation windows would appear online, right, and at what point in the user journey items would appear, each of these options was the result of different algorithms designed by the data science team at Adobe. So what we are trying to show you that how these two teams worked in tandem together, like product managers and data science guys, right? So yeah, in fact, to make it more smoother, they basically made joint OKR policies, right? Between both the product managers and data science team, they had their joint OKR goals, which they had to achieve as together. Like not like both of them had their own different OKRs, right? So in fact, their data science guy said that they were trying to do data science with an actual product management mindset, so that we can incorporate into the company when we build any solution for the organization, right? So you see how it's, though the data science team was independent, but they were working together with the product team, right? Now in the early 2000, as an example of a collaboration, there is something called Cartwheel app. So in 2014, this Target company launched a mobile coupon app. This is called Cartwheel, and this app let customers see what offers were available on the products that they might want to purchase and pick up in a Target store, right? So when customers were shopping at the Target stores, the app also let customers scan the barcode of a product with the cell phone camera and collect coupons related to this product. So when customers were ready to check out, they would retrieve all of their Cartwheel offers from one barcode in the app to scan at the register to apply their discounts. So you see how one thing is obviously that you could say it's the technology integration rather than data science, but some things also came from data science. As you will see, this was more of technological integration. But then the in March 2014, the amount of time that shoppers spent browsing with the app amounted to 100 million hours. And by 2017, this app had been downloaded more than 40 million times, right? So a short while after this release, the app team basically that made Cartwheel approached the Adobe team to understand if something could be done to improve customer redemption rates of coupons. Adobe conducted several rounds of customer interviews to understand end user needs, right? So when the customers would open the app, right, they had more than 900 different offers in random order. So it was too confusing for any customer to scroll through the offers and figure out what they might want, right? But their team was able to get some data from each customer's click stream, and by combining that with other sources of data, they were able to make recommendations that were able to increase redemptions rate of coupons, right? So what it means is like on the app, there were more than let's say 900 different offers, and they were all in random order. So as the time progressed, people were clicking some odd offers. So you would know, okay, what kind of offers are clicked for certain products. You will start showing those offers more at the top so that people can make better decisions for their collection of coupons or redeeming the coupons, right? So another thing is the ethics part. Like you might have seen in any e-commerce site like Amazon or maybe any website where you buy products. When you bought a mobile phone, it's sometimes it keeps showing you what phones to buy. That is a dumb case of recommendation. Another is it'll only, let's say you are due to this recommendation and the way machine learning works, it'll only recommend something which you had seen in past. So there is no variety to things, right? So this team, ADABI team, made sure that we just do not they do not just recommend something which is biased towards their past behavior. In fact, they will recommend something which is prioritizing variety over the past behavior, right? So that is very good point, that they made sure, then this comes under like ethics. They made sure that not too many biases due to the machine learning recommendation, right? In fact, yeah. So there, everyone in the company basically was to entice customers to purchase recommended products, but also they were allowed, I mean, asked not to cross any boundaries inappropriately, right? The Adabi's leadership team worked closely with product managers, data scientists, and data engineers to focus their efforts on how data could be used to benefit customers, enhance their shopping experience. So you see, their leadership team basically is worked closely with data scientists and product managers both, right? So it's not like they both are so leaders are making sure that the customer experience is not really hurt due to this high end machine learning, innovation advancements in the website. So they had a very thoughtful and proactive policy, right, on the implications of these technologies. They cared about the value and they trust their guest, which put they trust the guest had in them, right? So they had designed specific rules to ensure this trust, basically for example, excluding certain categories from recommendations when not appropriate, right? So it's like your machine learning engine is there which is recommending products. On top of that, you have some more rules that, okay, you do not show certain products to your customers because just not to push sale, but also maybe it's not ethical for some person to show such products, right? For example, when somebody buys something and there are some toys, right? Something, you, let's say a small kid like 10-year-old who's for whom you're buying a toy, right? Now, what if the recommendation engine starts showing sex toys as a recommendation, right? And that's just a 15, let's say 10 to 15-year-old kid who's buying toys. So you have to apply some more rules so that your recommendation engine is not just recommending anything to the customer, right? So they believe that their algorithms were in service of the guest and they wanted to give them a measure of control so that it's 17 hours they can customize their experiences, right? And their senior leadership team was aware of the biases that could inadvertently creep into the algorithms, right? So they consciously took steps to avoid these biases. For example, as I said, they forced the algorithms to index higher on variety versus past behavior. So yeah, now now what's next? Like they already did so much, right? Like there is still, this is something okay, now till now we have achieved a lot, but what's next, right? So as I said, their leadership team was feeling very pleasant with what the team has accomplished over the past several years. Data helped them fundamentally transforming all aspects of Target's business, right? And the company continued to invest heavily in building a technically advanced organization that made one day basically almost a biggest rival to the companies like Amazon or any other technical company in Silicon Valley, right, or in other parts of the world. So there were few questions they had which are still remaining, and they still trying to answer it, right? First is like, in what other areas could Adobe use machine learning, and how could the team make it both nuanced and also trusted for customers, right? Second is, how could Adobe make sure key decision makers across target could use data and machine learning to stay at the cutting edge of the competitive online and offline retail industry, right? So yeah, it's basically like, okay, how does your leaders, like the CEO or founders, make sure use the power of data to make decisions which lead, keep you in competitive market. So if you remember, we said that US had this very competitive market and there were low margins, right? So there are a lot of players in retail, in UK US retail industry. So more there were, and what about more colleagues in other parts of the business needed to be trained in technology and data? So Idavi leaders hope that the group's capabilities could become even larger part of the company's everyday operating rhythms, right? Third is that the team thought or pondered if the company was gathering the right data to make decisions, and was in target investing in correct areas to get information for customers that would be both useful and helpful, right? And finally, the team also pondered the importance of remaining in front of key issues regarding privacy and trust with customers, especially given the increasingly active regulatory policies in United States and also around the world, right? So with these top issues in the mind, like, Idabi's team is wondering how best to address these challenges in the next phase of group's development, right? So, like, what are the takeaways? Like, what I could write in that short time. I'm sure there are more takeaways than this. That if you can even write it on the questions or chat section, that will be great. Like, what are the different takeaways you take from this whole case study of Target Corporation? One was, which I see immediately, is that set the culture. That instead of being abrupt change, make it progressive so that old employees can adapt, right? And I gave another example of culture side when, like in India, as I said, that they got, in order to bring digitalization in the country, they scrapped some high-end notes so that people start using credit cards or e-wallets for transactions. But the country was not ready, or the culture was not set up. That this is not how you set up the culture. You cannot suddenly stop something so that people start using online or technical products, right? Now there should be a cross sectional product development or management, right? Data scientists coordinating with product managers and vice versa. This is very essential because sometimes as data scientists we might end up being lost in our mathematical or experiments, because sometimes it's not like we like so much, it's because we sometimes get lost in that, so we keep on interacting with the product team so that we know that we are going in the right direction, and also we give them something which they will help them in making right decisions, right? And then innovate on time, like as we saw that in 1999 or 2000, when there was dot-com bubble, Target was able to launch its e-commerce platform, right? So they were going with the time, right? They were not behind somebody or not ahead of somebody. So yeah, in 2000 to 2010, when people were starting going online for things, they had their website already there. Then AI and ML started moving after 2010, and even Target launched its data science initiative around 2013, right? So that's what this thing is showing. In fact, we can, if I was just seeing the company's stock price, like which was, just hold on. So if you see that when this company started making progress in 99, right? That was when, you know, after which there was huge change, right? And this is a thing, the 2008-9 recession. And now if you see, I'm guessing with the way this case study is shown, it looks like this also going to be a lot of a good company, basically just like Amazon, right? For, yeah, for example, this started maybe here or 2015. Yeah, after 10, around this age when AI ML was just boosting up. So this was a time when it started erupting, right? Like in this 2000 to 2010 decade, it's almost the price range of $10, the stock price, right? After this 2010 or 11, when AI ML started into this company's products, that's when this the stock price jumped so high. And because of the sales, it's not because of somebody using AI ML, because of the heavy sales they were able to revenue they were able to make. And these revenues are highly driven by obviously the recommendation engine you have, right, in the platform. So, and due to that you are able to push sales, right? So yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up in this takeaway, that innovating on time is really important. And setting the culture, you do not do things abruptly. And then cross-sectional teams, like teams working in together, data science and product team working in together, that makes it more nice. Yeah. So maybe we can take questions, and then, yeah, let's see if there are any questions you have regarding, let's say, how do we collect data and how do you go about something rather than uh, just going random. Or you can tell your opinions about this case study, that did it help you understand, let's say, in your organization or for the organization you are working, did it help you to visualize how can you bring data science or business analytics into your uh, organization or product?
Sure, I will just unmute them so they can ask if they want to, if they can answer questions if they want to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've unmuted you all, but if you want to ask questions, you have to unmute it from yourself and then you can ask questions to Mr. Pradeep.
So I'll also, when we'll send this video, I'll send the PDF copy of this case studies, both the case studies. One is the target corporation, and another is one which I was
Nice.
planning to cover. This is like more theoretical rather than uh, basically this theory. This group basically, mm, you know, sent application to 48 retail groups, and out of that, 9 agreed for the interviews, so that they could understand how
Okay.
different 8 groups. Let me just go to that point.
Sure.
So, for example, if you see, there are nine companies, C1, C2 till C9, right? And there are different sizes of these
Right.
companies in UK, where are like 39, almost more than, I mean, 40,000 employees in C1, and
Right.
C9 is like 70,000 employees, and C2, C3. These are all retail companies and different industrial sector. For example, this is like C4 is selling used and new cars, right? And then
Right.
C6 is business and domestic software development. So all these companies were taken to do their research, which was to find out what are the different factors when you should apply business analytics or business intelligence into your organization, and how do you how do you analyze the effect, or the how does it affect the firm performance, right? We discussed initially TOE, remember, technology, organizational, and environmental context in the beginning. That's what it talks
Right.
about here, that different issues with big data and business analytics is there are human assets, right? Whether humans are able to understand the technology, the humans you have as employees, then technology assets, meaning is it really with the existing work you, I mean, the methodology you have in your organization, does the technology hurt that, or it's just a complementary thing, you will not need much of changes, right? So these all things are there. It's a good read. Yeah, but I found target study more intuitive and more explanatory, right? This is more of theoretical thing, like a, making it more theory around different case studies. So I will send this also whenever I send this, I mean, this PDF of the slides and also this case study. You will get it and you can always go back
Sure.
and read. Yeah.